Hello, everyone. It says I'm live, so I'm pretty tuckered out. It's been a long day today, but I would nonetheless, I'd like to do a little live stream here, thanking each and every person who's ever watched Foreigner Farming in the Philippines video. A little bit tired today. We did the first part of the tilapia harvest today, and it was a long day. Marcel's already sleeping. Charlie's zonked out about an hour and a half ago, pretty early for that little tyke. And I'm going to be heading to bed shortly, probably within a half hour, 45 minutes. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for making our channel a success and 20 million views. That's pretty dang amazing. I remember long ago we did a video thanking everyone for 1 million views, and we titled it "We're YouTube Millionaires." 2.5, 3 years later, it's 20 million views. It's just it boggles my mind. It just blows me away, and I just wanted to do a little live stream and say thank you to everyone. And it's so greatly appreciated that we've had so many follow us for so long and have, I would hope, provided some entertainment and perhaps a little bit of education on how things can go well and things can go not so well here in the Philippines. I would just like to wish everyone well and give you a big thank you. We're going to be continuing the harvest tomorrow. I'm hoping we can get it done by noonish. I'm going to be setting the alarm for about 7. We still have to pump that pond a bit. It's got about 1.5 feet of water in the deep end, and we're going to start that pump pretty early in the morning. And we moved the aeration pump into the new mini pond. We had lost about 100 of the fingerlings that we moved in there today, because it's just such the azolla is so thick in there that it's driving the oxygen content of the water down, and it stresses fish anyway to catch them the way that we have to catch them. And they're out of the water 5 or 10 minutes, and they're going into a mini pond that was not properly aerated. We were using that pump to pump out the pond rather than to aerate, but it's going to be aerating all night. And I had planned on using it on the main pond tonight for aeration, but the fish in there seemed fine, so I moved it over to the new mini pond. Ronnie Lehman, hello to you as well. Sorry if I'm sounding a little subdued. I'm just tired. It's been a long day. I was up at about 7 this morning, running around doing things, and I'll be up at the same time again in the morning. Tom Harris, good evening to you as well. It's actually early morning here now. It's 12:08 a.m. So it's Tuesday here. You know, it's been a really interesting and enlightening, and our YouTube channel has for the most part been a thrill ride. We were blessed from the beginning that it was so successful, and we still are. And I just wanted to let everyone know how pleased we are. So tomorrow we'll finish up the tilapia harvest. Uh, you know, in my dream world, I'd been hoping there was a ton of tilapia in there. We got, I don't know, what was it, 148 kilos out today, and there was, I don't know, I think Marcel sold another 14 or so to passersby and neighbors, and we got almost 60 breeders. I decided to save many more than what I'd originally planned because I was running some numbers last night, and you know I would like to be at the point somewhere in the distant future that I could produce 100,000 fry per month, but I would settle for 25 to 50,000 after we get all those tanks built. So I'm going to go over it in a day or two or three and find Jerry and get several. I would like to get 15 male and 15 female red tilapia and put them in that tank. I'd really be pushing it, but it does have good aeration, and I'm not really worried about them breeding right now. I just want them on hand. It's going to take 2 or 3 weeks to get that new tank completed and treated to where it's habitable. But I want to get that main pond drained, and you know, the way it's looking, we're going to be moving 20,000 fingerlings over into that mini pond. And I had someone come by today who might be interested in buying a bunch of them, so we may talk to him tomorrow. Tom Harris, 1:40 a.m. here. Where are you at, Tom? Tilapia Aquaponics, Tuesday, 2:09 a.m. And why am I awake? I don't know, Dave. Why are you awake at 2 o'clock in the morning? After 2 o'clock in the morning. I've got to ask myself why I'm awake after midnight and such a long day. Zyda 3616, how much per kilo? The 5 to 6 per kilo size, we got 80 pesos for, and for anything larger than that, all the way up to, you know, I kept most of the largest fish. It's probably 30 kilos plus that I kept for breeders. We still sold a lot of fish that were 400 grams, but they were all 90 pesos per kilo. The 5 to 6 per kilo size were 80 pesos, and anything any larger than that was 90. We have gotten a higher price than that before, but just right now, that's the going rate. So it goes up and down. It fluctuates 10 or 20%, depending on the weather and holidays. Depending on the weather more than anything else. If it's stormy and the local fishermen can't go out in those little small boats, and they don't. When it's any kind of little storm or anything, it's too dangerous for them to go out in the bay, and so the price of everything from the sea and ponds and whatever goes way up. But it's been really nice weather here for about a week. We got some heavy rain night before last, but that only lasted for about an hour and a half, and it was at night. So I don't think it affected any of the fishing. So that's the price we got for them. Tom Harris, South Australia. Well, thanks for joining us, Tom. Mr. Adobo, this thing with me, you guys got a pretty good thing going on. These drama videos is pretty good. Way to generate watch time on your vids. Even the Filipinos are getting into the action. Well, I'll take a view. I'll take the watch hours. Uh, but if he would just uh, come to his senses and go away, I'd never make another GD Mead video or mention him again. But I'm tired of being pushed around by a lunatic who just puts out one side of the story uh, with lies, innuendo, assumptions. Um, I don't know what he's been up to the last 3 or 4 days because I've been too busy to watch his videos, but I'm sure it's nothing good. Scott expat in the Philippines. Hi, Brian and Marcel and baby Charlie. Marcel and baby Charlie have sense enough to uh, be sleeping right now. Tilapia aquaponics. The genetic mix should help a lot. Yeah, I mean, we were talking to our buyer tonight, and I'm gonna run this by you, Dave. Uh, he had some tilapia there, and he showed them to me, and they were 400 grams, 4 to 500 grams, and they were black. I'd never seen tilapia that were that dark. And he told me that they had been in the pond 2.5 months. Now, I don't know what size they were when they were put in the pond, but to me, that's a pretty incredible growth rate to get to 4 to 500 grams in 2.5 months. Now, to me, it would take 4 or 5 months under good conditions to get to that weight. And I was just wondering if you had any knowledge about black tilapia uh, and their growth weight and their growth rates. On the flip side of that coin, um, you know the breeding stock that we have right now is from the original 3,500 fish fry that we put in that pond, and so I'm thinking they could be a little bit inbred, and at least getting a bunch of males. Uh, I'm thinking would go a long way, and males and females, why not? Just to mix up the genetics a little bit, like you're referring to. And the red tilapia are supposed to have a little bit faster growth rate, and they just get there quicker. Tilapia aquaponics. Dave building gaming computers. My new hobby. Gaming computers. Wow. Scott expat in the Philippines. Nice, Brian, and a good price for fish. Well, it's been higher. I think the last time that a bomb bought our tilapia from us, he paid us 100 and 110. Was it? It was 90. He sized them into three sizes. It was 90, 100, and 110, I think. And we sold him, I don't know, 150, 160 kilos that time. Most of them were we got like the 90, 100 price for them because they weren't that big. I'm hoping we've got at least another 200 kilos in that pond. I thought I tossed his net in there after we were done for the day, and he got like 5 kilos the first cast, and they were all big fish. So I think the only thing remaining in the pond right now are the very large fish, the cagey ones that know how to avoid the net, and the really small ones that have passed through the net. So I'm hoping. Uh, I'd been hoping when we originally started harvesting that there was a ton of fish in there, but from what they've been eating, a ton would have been pushing it because they just haven't been eating that much. Not a, meaning it would be hard to have that much biomass in there and eating the amount of feed that they were eating. So hopefully we can get 400 kilos out of there. Tom Harris, Scott expat in the Philippines, giving you a howdy. Van Turner, GD got a million peso hit on him. He is so important. Well, knowing GD Meade, I believe it. Not because he's important, just because he doesn't know when to stop running his mouth. And as much as he likes to talk, it could be more than one. John, how are you? Scott, expat in the Philippines. Exactly, I agree. Zaida, did I hear right that you want to put 20,000 fingerlings in your old pond? That will be so crowded. No, I'm going to put 20,000 fingerlings in the new mini pond, and yes, that is going to be incredibly crowded. But they're little fellas. They're from this size up to maybe this size. And I am gonna aerate it. So we need to get the second pond done fairly quick, and then we can take half the biomass out and have 10,000 in each, and that's still pretty dang crowded. So within a month or so, we need to have the third pond done, and it'll still be crowded. But I'm going to try to make up for that overcrowding with aeration. Scott expat in the Philippines. That's great to hear, Brian. Tilapia aquaponics data. On what basis are you saying it is too many? Scott expat in the Philippines. Hello, everybody saying hi to each other. Well, Dave, what kind of stocking density? What kind of stocking density would you say would be good? We went through tonight. We fished out about 100 fingerlings that didn't make it, just from being moved, and I could tell there were still a few fish on the top, gulping for air, so low oxygen. The pond is, what is it? I forget. I'm so tired. It's about, just say it's 20 by 20 meters. So it's 400 square meters, and it's anywhere from, right now, because it's full, it's anywhere from 2 to 3 feet deep. So I don't know, what is that, 350 cubic meters, 300, just to call it 300 cubic meters. So David, what kind of stocking density would you be thinking? Scott and David are saying hello to everybody. And David is right. There are many factors that determine stocking density. Water exchange, biomass, aeration, heat. There is a lot of factors. Van Turner, GD is married to a Panay. He can't enter the Philippines instead of being drunk on a computer. Why not? Well, according to him, he ran afoul, I guess, of the mayor of Cebu. And the mayor put a hit out on him. I don't know if it's true or not. But, he's in Australia and he's old and sick. So they're not going to let him out of Australia. And the Philippines isn't letting anybody in. So he gets to, I guess he gets to die in his new adopted home and save a Filipino a bullet. Sherry Ulrich Hello, Brian and Marcel. How you guys doing? We are doing very well. 20 million views is a pretty good thing. Scott expat in the Philippines. Good. Thank you, Tilapia Aquaponics. Tilapia Aquaponics. Did the stream stop for everyone or just me? It could. It could. My guess would it be for it stopped for everyone, even though it's after midnight here, and this is as fast as the internet's ever going to be. It still locks up occasionally. Scott and Sherry are saying howdy. Mikey Doo says just you. Okay. James Paris, good evening, Brian. Just catching up on your latest videos and saw you were live. Congratulations on the YouTube milestone. Well, thank you, James. It is a nice milestone. Scott and James are saying howdy, Mikey Doo. Sean Mans, the info is coming in thick and fast. LOL. GD says you are obsessed with him. Oh, really? Yet he has spent thousands of hours on you. Funny how there are white Western YouTube Filipino lawyers not in the Philippines. I think there's lots of ways to describe GD Mead. Transference is a good one. Tilapia aquaponics with good aeration, there is no problem doing 10,000 plus in that size pond. Batch growing is best all around. Less biomass at any one time, and consistent supply. And I'm assuming that you mean by batch growing would mean when they get up to a couple 300 grams, you go in and harvest out several hundred kilos. Is that what you mean by batches? John, we are under MECQ until the end of this month and thinking about extending it here in Dumaguete until July 15th. Yeah, all the lockdowns and stuff, that's the thing. No one has a crystal ball. No one knows what's going to happen with it. I think everyone is hopeful that at some point the world will get back to some kind of old normal rather than the new normal. I don't have any better idea about it than you guys. Scott and the expat, that is correct. What he did run at the mouth. Yeah, I don't know. GD just can't help himself. He just can't help himself. All his plans went for naught in the Philippines because he's the way that he is, and he's stuck now. He goes on. He has gone on and on about people stuck in mommy's basement, and yet he's stuck in his basement, right? He has nothing to do all day except bash me, and I don't know what else to say. This is the kind of life that he wants. This is how he wants to go out. That's on him. Tilapia aquaponics. I forgot to say, Sydney is in lockdown. Now, what do you mean about lockdown, Dave? I mean, is it is it shelter in place kind of lockdown? I mean, are people not going to work? Have they been told to stay in their homes? What is lockdown there mean? Zaida, how about your milkfish? I really miss the sea. You know what? We're just taking a break from that until we can get the money to do it again. I've said it before, but I'll reiterate that the reason that we're not doing the milkfish is that, and we switched to shrimp, is the feed budget, and we just don't have $1.5 million laying around for feed. The reason that we went to shrimp is very limited feed. We're going to be restocking sometime this next week. So we'll put the order in probably tomorrow or the next day, hoping we can get them by Friday-ish, Saturday-ish, and get them in. But last time we ordered them, they came the next day. But we've ordered milkfish fingerlings and had to wait. Sometimes never got them, or had to wait a week or 10 days. So who knows? But we'll get the shrimp in. The milkfish, it's probably going to be a while until we do the milkfish again. Jay Faulkner, how are you, Jay? Yes, 20 million views is a wonderful thing. It is a wonderful thing. We must be doing something right. Tilapia aquaponics side of the shrimp prawn pond may well end up being a milkfish. Yeah, I'm not saying never. The milkfish do really well in a pond setting. But the price, because it's not ocean water, it's not free moving water. You're limited. Well, there's a couple limiting factors of why people, it's common practice here to mix milkfish with the shrimp. But the thing is when the milkfish are harvested out of one of these ponds, they're tiny, and in the 150 to 200 gram range, which is how big they can grow on natural feed in 2.5 months. Because that's the common practice here is you're harvesting at 2.5 months, shrimp and your milkfish, and you're only going to get 60 or 70 pesos per kilo for milkfish that size. It's just harvesting anything costs money. It cost us 1,500 pesos today to harvest 11,650 pesos worth of tilapia. I mean, well, probably more like 1,000 because we had 4 guys working, but it was really only half a day. So it's not free to harvest, and your manpower versus 60 pesos per kilo. Even though labor is cheap in the Philippines, it ain't free, and it's a lot of work to harvest anything from the water. And when a big percentage of that is eaten up by harvest costs, it takes all the profit out of it. Van Turner, different mayor in Cebu now. He can enter being married to a Panay with quarantine. How is he going to face you in a court if not? I'm gonna do a video on that shortly. But I'm like 99% sure he's never going to show his face in the Philippines. I mean, he's crazy, but he's not stupid. And he would have to be stupid to come back to the Philippines. Mike Jerzinka, hey Big B, how we doing tonight? Why not leave a bunch of fish in your pond for personal fun? The girls would still love to go there and catch them. Plus, it makes good videos. Well, you've got a couple good points there, but here's the thing, Mike. I am of the opinion that I have a lot of stunted fish, because I was just talking. Dave and I were just talking about the size that I should be getting at 2.5, 3 months, And I don't remember exactly when we moved that. Uh, I think it was 1,400 into that first net. I'm thinking it was over 3 months ago, and I might only end up with uh, 200, 250 kilos of large fish. Um, a great many of them may never have grown at all. Here's the thing with tilapia: they've got a genetic time clock. Pretty much like you could equate it with people. Um, when you're a little bitty guy like Charlie, you grow really fast, and then it kind of tapers off, and you have a spurt during your teenage years. But by the time you're 20, you're pretty much done growing. Tilapia are much the same way, except it's months, not years. So uh, if they're malnourished for the first 4, 5, 6 months of their life, they can only be this big, or even smaller. But just say they could be this big, and you could feed them all that they could eat for the next 6 months until they're a year old, and they would be this big because they're programmed to stop growing fast. And so you've got a certain window there. And I'm just thinking that I have a lot of stunted fish, not only in that pond, but some of them that I moved into that pond could be stunted. And I just want to start afresh, um, knowing that I have. Because I'm still not doing that. I'm still not starting from scratch right now. We're going to end up moving probably 20,000 fingerlings into that mini pond. I don't know exactly how old they are, any of them. There could be 5-month-old fish that we're moving in there that are this big, and in another 5 months they'll only get that big. So, and that's wasted feed. You're just wasting it. Um, so I want to start afresh to where just put sexed tilapia in there. Look, I want to do this as a business, not for the girls to go out and catch a few kilos of fish and have a fish fry. This farm needs to make money. That's the bottom line. And you can't make money trying to raise stunted fish. So I just need to start over. The fish have been in that pond almost 3 years, some of them. We harvested a male today that was, I don't know, maybe 800 or 900 grams, almost a kilo, a really big fish. So we just need to start over with small, new fish and grow them out, because you can make money in tilapia if you start with sexed, mostly male tilapia that are young, of the proper age, so that you get that window. It's a 3 or 4 month window when they have a really good feed conversion rate, when the amount of feed that you feed them turns into fish meat. And once you pass that window, once you get to the 5 or 6, 7 month old part, you're just spinning your wheels. Van Turner, where did Butthurt Aussie get his U.S. tax law degree and Philippines constitutional law degree? Yeah, that's a good question. Um, Maybe Google is his friend. Steve Fuller, hi to you as well. Tilapia aquaponics, rolling batches have, I gotta move my little cursor here, it's blocking it. Have 2,000 at 2 inch, 2,000 separate cage at 4 inch. Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying now. Next cage, 2,000 at 6 inch. Next cage, 2,000 at near harvest. I got you. Yeah. And that's, it's going to take a while to get this going the way that I want it. So the first thing is in that mini pond, all those fingerlings, just to get them growing out. And the new fish that we put in the old main pond will be in cages, and I'm going to do whatever, whatever I've got to do. Um, I'd like to put in floating cages, as David has suggested many months ago. Um, but if not floating cages, at least suspended cages like I had, but with the net off the bottom. And to get the net off the bottom would require some sort of a frame. Um, and having the net off the bottom that just allows the eggs to pass through, and they won't be fertilized. Um, they just pass through the net and end up on the floor of the pond. Um, that's what I got to do, because I don't want to. I've learned, and I knew it this time. Harvesting tilapia the way that we've been harvesting them is labor intensive, and it just makes my brain want to explode. Now, we were at it a good half day today, 5 guys harvesting 150 kilos of fish. And I was down there babysitting it yesterday while the water was being pumped out. And Tatai off and on. So just consider another full day by someone. And tomorrow we're going to be at it again. So in the best case scenario, we're going to get 400 kilos of fish, and it's going to be 5 man days of labor. When if they were in floating cages, it would be so simple. Or suspended cages, so simple. You just drag your nets up, drag your cage out. You got them all, and you're done. You can harvest 500 kilos of fish in a half an hour, rather than 40 hours for a man. Be done in a half hour by a couple guys. Mike Drzinka, are you planning to dig out some of the pond bottom to use the soil for the garden? I would like to. I don't know if I will or not. Again, it all comes down to how many fish we're going to get out of there, and what we're going to be able to afford to spend on fixing things up. And right now, it's looking like no. It's still, that pond is plenty deep enough. I would love to use some of that pretty good soil that's in the bottom around the plants, but it's not something that. Well, let me put it this way: Tatai and I could do it, but having 2 guys pushing 60, schluffing mud around, we're not going to get that much done. And will we get enough done to lower the depth of the pond? Not really, and it doesn't really need it anyway. Now, the fertilizer part of it, yeah, that would be a good thing, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not a high priority overall that we get the soil out or make it deeper. Tilapia aquaponics, our level lockdown, can only leave home for work, urgent shopping, and exercise. So no, can't go to the movies, can't go to a restaurant, that kind of thing. Masks mandated at shopping centers, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Well, we still have to wear masks here at shopping centers. And face shields. We have to wear a face shield to get into the mall. Steve Fuller, hi Brian. Good to see you are all well and enjoying life. Was great to see Charlie playing in the soil. I saw President Duterte speaking about the vaccines last week. It made my mood so somber. I didn't watch, so I can't really expound on what you're talking about there, Steve. Scott, Australia, Victoria. We came out of lockdown, and now New South Wales. Yes, they have to stay home, get tested until negative. If you work in office, have to stay home and work from home. So I guess it's an essential personnel thing. Can work. Victoria, the Mexico of Australia. Scott, expat in the Philippines. Congratulations, Brian and Marcel and baby Charlie on 20,000. It's actually 20 million views. Well done. Great going. Thank you, Scott. John, sounded like on GD's video he was summoned by the local police because someone reported him. I have information that a lot of someone have reported it, both here and in Australia. Whether or not anything ever comes of it, who knows? Tilapia aquaponics wasn't me. It wasn't you this time. Scott, expat in the Philippines. Tilapia aquaponics yesterday. Too true there, mate. Yep. Steve Fuller. He stated that if one refuses, they will be imprisoned and forced jabbed in the ass with a pig vaccine. Have you heard about it? I haven't. As he was a lawyer, I am shocked to hear him say it. Yeah, forced vaccines, not the way I would go. Uncle Justin, thank you, sir. Appreciate that $5. Thank you. John, file a restraining order on him, cease and desist. I wouldn't know the first thing about doing it. To file a restraining order on someone in a different country, if it would be allowed, whatever, I have no idea. Scott, expat in the Philippines. He won't be able to be represented by a lawyer in the Philippines. The mayor and lawyers won't touch him. And an Australian lawyer would have no go there in a court of law, and I agree on that. Yeah, that's probably going to be my next video on GDB. Scott, expat in the Philippines. Too true there, John. Mike Jazinka, yes, you are correct. I also see ponds here with stunted fish. Thanks, I understand, but I sure will miss the videos of the girls screaming when the big females being thrown back in. But I understand. Yeah, it's just I'm not gonna lie. It was nice having that pond, and Marcel loved it. Just being able to go out when her friends came over and catch some tilapia because they say rice is life in the Philippines. Fish is life in the Philippines. Just draining the pond yesterday, people were stopping and watching because they knew, if you're draining a pond, you're going to be harvesting fish. The guys driving the hardware truck stopped. Half a dozen people on motorcycles stopped. Half a dozen tricycles stopped, and we don't get that much traffic on this little barangay road. Everyone was curious, and we sold tilapia. Van Turn, tilapia Dave, exercise? Question mark. Massage parlor still open. Tilapia Aquaponics, Dave. Van, home delivery on the massage, up to 5 visitors. Bob Cooper, 20 million views, right on Brian and family. Thank you, Bob. Lizuetta I can't pronounce your name at all. I apologize. Why don't you show us a video of Jake? I don't know anyone named Jake. Scott expat in the Philippines. About time, John. Someone put GD Mead in and reported him. Yeah. Tilapia aquaponics, smallish floating cages. Pull the rope and it comes to the bank. Honest Maricel could harvest by herself. I did it for years. Yeah. Lizuetta, sorry, meant your son Blake. Well, if I wanted to endure a 14-day, well, I guess it's a 10-day quarantine now each way, I could do that. But I don't have 20 days to sit in a hotel room, so that's why. Bob Cooper's live YouTube, thumbs up for Brian, you all. Thank you. Scott expat in the Philippines. Great to see everything is going well with the farm, Brian, and the tilapia ponds. Things are going well enough. Dan P, Lizuetta, whatever. More like meant to troll. Go hang with your drunken Aussie friends. That's good advice, but she won't take it. Mike Jazinka, hey Brian, are you thinking of selling the fish yourself? Cut out the middleman, or partner out with Ruthie's mom's store. It seems like the fish dealers have you over the barrel. It's the difference between wholesale and retail is only 20, 30 pesos a kilo. And so we harvested 150 kilos today. And you'd be pretty hard pressed to sell 150 kilos at a stall. But just say you could. And you made 20 pesos per kilo. 600 pesos all day. Less the cost of the ice because you'd have to keep them iced down. So 400 pesos net profit. Well, and then you got to pay for the stall rent. Maricel was thinking about it. There was she never followed up on it. There was a little stall down the road, but we went through this kind of before with the milkfish because we were taking them around and selling them. And one of those little stalls is 20, 30, 40 kilos a day. Filipinas, God bless them. They're okay with 200 or 300 pesos a day in income because it's hard. That's rice and some dish. That's rice and some food, some kind of meat for you and your family. And I'm not trying to say that in a disrespectful way. Maricel, we've talked about it. She doesn't want me doing it. And she doesn't have the time. So then we would have to pay someone to do it. So, when you're looking at ice and stall rent and someone's salary, you've got to sell 100 kilos of fish to break even. And if you're going to make anything, you'd have to sell 200 kilos of fish. Our production isn't that high right now, for one thing. I mean, we could have sold 150 today, but what will we sell tomorrow? So you rent a stall for a month and you use it one day just because you don't have the amount to sell. I mean, excuse me, I'm not trying to be dismissive of what you're saying because there is merit to what you're saying. If we had our own stall and enough fish to sell every day, uh, it would be a plan. But there just isn't that much margin in it, wholesale versus retail. Bob Cooper's live YouTube, $10. Thank you very much. Tatai and Red's haircuts. You know, a few people have been on Tatai because he needs a haircut. Yeah, I haven't really paid any attention to Red. His mom, I think it was his mom. I think Gina cut his hair like a month ago. Some kind of a crazy mohawk looking thing. So I haven't really noticed if Red needs a haircut or not. But yeah, Tatai's a little shaggy. But I appreciate that, Bob. But I got to tell you, a haircut here is only 50 pesos. It's only $1. I got one about, I don't know, 10 days ago because Marcel, she likes me with short hair, and because I've got, my hair is actually curly, not curly, it's wavy. When I had hair, it was wavy. And when you've got wavy / curly hair, once it gets an inch long or so, you get these little, it goes everywhere. It starts, when it's short and it doesn't have the weight to pull it down, to be wavy, it just goes everywhere. It's like an afro almost, and that drives her nuts. She hates it. When my hair gets an inch and a half, 2 inches long, she doesn't like it. So she likes me with this number 2. Got to do what you got to do. Sherry, Sir Brian, when is your shrimp ready to harvest? We would like to buy some. We haven't stocked them yet. We're going to be stocking them this week, and so it's probably going to be in 10 weeks to 3 months. I said, let me rephrase that. It's going to be 10 to 12 weeks. We're going to do our very best to get them to the size to where we can get some money out of them this time, rather than just having to sell them short. And I don't know if I've ever fully explained why we harvested so quick last time, and of course got such a horrible price for them. Look, I just knew, I could just tell by how much LaMotte was in that pond. Even though I'm just a baby shrimp farmer, I could just tell from what we saw in there, based on what we had seen in there 10 days before, what I saw in there 10 days later, and the amount of LaMotte in there, I knew there wasn't very many shrimp in there. And so, are we going to pay for a caretaker? Are we going to go out there 24/7 for another month to get another 100 kilos of shrimp? I decided not to, because I wanted to turn that pond around. Now, of course, we got caught with the tides. It's just, if it's not one thing, it's another. We got caught in a cycle for almost 2 weeks of tides that just went like this. Instead of way up and way down, they just kind of were a heart that was fibrillating. And it just, I didn't want to put shrimp in it unless the pond was full like it is now. So, and I couldn't, with the pond half full of water, I really didn't want to fertilize it to get the LaMotte to really take off again. So we just got caught. And even though we could have waited that month and employed someone for a month without losing part of a production cycle in the pond, it still would have just been spinning our wheels. We wouldn't have made any more. We wouldn't have offset. I was going to say we wouldn't have made any more net profit. We would have lost the same amount of money, whether or not we had waited another month or not. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Dan P. Forced vaccines will never happen in the Philippines. The Philippines is governed by law. There are no laws that would allow forced vaccines. Geez, people, get a life. Benny Smile. GD Mead has a lawyer in Cebu, not Australia. He said he's already paid the money for the case to be filed against Brian. Yeah, how long ago did he say that? Deval Don, wow. John, going to bed now, almost 1 a.m. here. It's almost 1 a.m. here, too. Love your life, Brian. Good night. Well, thank you for joining us, John. Much appreciated. Van Turner, hell, don't. Dave, don't. Hello, hell, Dave. Order me 4 Rome delivery. I'm feeling weak. Tressa De La Torre. How much do you think was made on the tilapia in U.S. dollars? I've got to go through how much I spent on feed in the last couple months, and I can't give you that answer because I don't know. I don't know what the final harvest is because there's still a bunch of fish in the pond. I can say that there's probably 75 to 100,000 pesos worth of fingerlings that we're going to end up moving, because fish this size and this size are an easy 3 pesos. They're sexed tilapia that are this big are 3 pesos, and we moved maybe 4,000 a day that were this size or larger. So you could call them 5 pesos in value. The gentleman that stopped today was asking me about fingerlings. So I didn't blow him off, but I told him that he didn't want these fingerlings because, again, I don't know what's stunted and what's not stunted. And I wouldn't want, I don't want to sell him something that is not going to grow. There could be 6-month-old fish in there that are only this big. So I don't want to sell him something that I'm trying to build something here. So I want to build up a reputation of having good stock that grows well. And speaking of that, I did get your email, David. I haven't had a chance to follow that link yet. I will. Tilapia aquaponics, Dan P. Mandatory vaccines here if you work in old age care. It's not forced, but you cannot continue that work if you don't get vaccinated. Phil Ipina. I like that handle. Dan P. Spotted the troll also, I see. Tilapia aquaponics. GD Mead is not an Aussie. He was bred in New Zealand. So he's a transplanted Kiwi. Valdano Magulay. Scott expat in the Philippines. Benny Smith, GD Mead's lawyer would probably put him in jail in the Philippines if he turned up and landed there. Oh, you don't know the half of it. Scott expat, hi to Valdon Kumasta, my friend. Take it you guys know each other. MP, tilapia aquaponics, same in many hospitals here in the U.S. Has nothing to do with the president of either country. People need to grow up. Paul P. Marcel's channel is approaching 3 million views. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Yeah, you guys go check out Marcel's Homestead Kitchen. Any of you who have not yet. Um, Bob Cooper, okay, get yours done with tatas too. Well, I'm not going to shave. I'm not going to shave my head. I'm bald enough. Next time. Cryo talk. Go net some tilapia out of your shrimp pond annex for a mix of genetic material from wild tilapia. You know, that's not a bad idea, but um, and I don't know. I don't know how large those wild tilapia would grow. I don't know if they're good genetics in those wild tilapia. I have no idea whatsoever, and I don't want to. Since I don't know, uh, to me that would be a risk of introducing bad genetics. Uh, Mixed genetics uh, is not necessarily a good thing if you're mixing in bad, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What do you think, David? What do you think about wild tilapia? Scott expat in the Philippines. I wish he would go back there and live, but maybe they kicked him out of New Zealand too, while old Jerry Attrick and drunks tell lies. Jerry Attrick. That's a good one. Um, Bob Cooper's live YouTube vlog. Go to the bakery and get some of those star rolls with sugar sprinkles. Sugar sprinkles. I miss so much, and a cola. I don't know if I've ever seen those here. I know I've seen them in Cebu, but locally here in Taliban, I just can't remember. Tilapia aquaponics. I have never thought any country has all bad or all good people, but I have to say I'm yet to meet and know a white New Zealander that isn't a right royal pain in the ass. Um, well, I was going to say Mike and Bonnie, but I don't think he was born in New Zealand. I think he was born in England. So I don't know if that counts or not. Scott expat in the Philippines. Hi, Filipina. Um, Piranha Keeper checking out. Liked. Crowd talk. Another question is how you are going to construct cages for the two new large and shallow tilapia tanks to make easy harvest of those fish. Um, I assume I assume you're talking about the new mini ponds. Um, those are not, it's not going to be incredibly easy to harvest the fish out of there, but because they have a flat bottom, it's not going to be crazy hard either, and it'll be much less water volume than what we're dealing with right now in the old pond. We're just going to pump the water out and harvest the fish. Um, like I've said, labor here isn't free, but it is fairly cheap. And once you've got the water out, it's pretty easy to get the fish out. Our problem has been there's so much water in that main pond. You know, it was coming down pretty fast when we had the gas pump running, the electric pump running, and three siphoning hoses. But it's too low now to use the siphoning hoses. And with just the gas and the electric pump, it just takes time. We pumped that pond for 9 hours today, and it's still not empty. And I ran that electric pump for another 5 hours after we were finished, 4.5 hours, and it lowered the pond maybe half an inch. Still a lot of water in there. Scott expat in the Philippines. Hi, Bob Cooper. I love those star rolls back home. Sarap yummy. Benny Smile, GD Meade said the case is held up due to one Filipino time and second the pandemic. Well, he can keep telling himself that. Scott expat in the Philippines, meaning it won't go ahead because there are more important things than him. Oh, not according to him. He's the most important guy there is. Piranha Keeper, there has to be a way for you to harvest tilapia fry. I'm sure you will figure it out. Well, out of this main pond, we're just going to be using a small net once we get the water out. For the breeding tanks, I've already done a video on how I'm going to get those out, and it will be pretty easy. Crowd talk. If you could engineer the drainage on your land so as to capture as much rainwater as possible in your ponds, that would make your operation much more cost effective. It would, and it's the dams aren't in place, but it is pretty much engineered to catch all the rainwater because the main pond is kind of everything around the house, the garden. Let me put it this way: everything between the piggery and the Barangay Road and the tilapia pond, that little square there, all that water goes into the tilapia pond, the main pond. And there's across the Barangay Road where the neighbor is building a piggery, and on the other side of our access road where Gary and Elnora are, all that slopes into the tilapia pond. So there's probably a 2-acre watershed that drains into that tilapia pond, and then it's all downhill into what is the new mini pond, and then the next pond and the next pond, and it all just basically goes around the corner into the rice fields. Now, all the rest of the land on the property, all the water that rains on this property ends up in those fields. So it's already pretty much set up. The rice fields are the lowest point on this property, and when they're dammed up and they're turned into mini ponds, we'll be catching it all. Scott expat in the Philippines. Well done, Marcel. Congratulations. Love Scott, Arlene, and baby CJ. Scott expat in the Philippines. Ken Hendrickson. Wow. Hello to you, sir. Don't get to catch you that often on our live streams, but I'm happy you joined us. How's things? Tilapia aquaponics. I wouldn't use the wild tilapia. They are most likely not. I think he means good genetics. I would consider hanging around the fish markets and picking up a few live fish. Cheap way to add genetics. I would agree, but honestly, I've never seen any live fish come into that market. Maybe because when they're harvested, they're thrown on ice, and tilapia are pretty tough. But even the toughest tilapia, 30 minutes on ice, and it's a dead tilapia. So I don't know. Might be able to do a little bit of networking and find some people to do some trading and swapping with. That might work. Scott and Ken are saying howdy. David Hallman, 20 million. Wow, congratulations from Minnesota. Well, thank you for joining us, David. Yeah, 20 million views is like, that's a lot. That's a lot of views. Um, and it boggles my mind that still to this day, I mean, the success of this channel has really always just amazed me, and it still does. And when we first started this, I was thinking maybe we'd get to 1,000 subscribers within a year. And honestly, I never gave any thought to the number of views. That's why when we got to 1 million views, that first 1 million views, we were so excited we did a video on it. And now that it's 20 million views, I mean, it is just amazing. So once again, thank you all. Crowd talk. I don't know, Dave. If you can catch a really big wild tilapia, it would probably have large offspring. I would generally agree with that because tilapia don't get that big. I mean, they can be, I don't know what the lifespan of a tilapia is, maybe 10 years. Uh, but the record size for tilapia isn't that much. I think it's like 5 kilos. They're not a giant fish. So I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't dismiss it out of hand, but that goes to overfishing here. And cryo talk. What's your first name anyway? If you don't mind sharing it. Uh, I've done videos before of the fishermen here catching fish this big. Um, Honestly, I've never seen a wild tilapia bigger than this. Um, and I don't think that's genetics. I just think that if it's swimming, it's dinner. And these local fishermen are not into catch and release and will wait for it to get better, wait for it to get bigger. They're into it's in my net, it's worth something, and it's coming into the boat. So I don't know how big the wild tilapia here get. I just don't have any idea. Where are we at here? S. Hart, hello to you as well. Tom Harris, I've been watching from day one. Well, thank you, Tom. Uh, that's pretty amazing. Thank you, sir. A stranger in a strange land, Dale. Hey, I'm late to the show. Congrats. Been a long road, but seems like it was yesterday. You were just getting started. Well, it doesn't seem like it was yesterday, but it doesn't seem like, uh, you know, I was just thinking about this a couple days ago. When you're a little tyke, when you're a little fella, because, now that Charlie's around, you know, I do a little reflection on my kids as they grew, my other children as they grew up, and myself, what it was like growing up. And man, because you look forward to things when you're little, right? Your birthday, Christmas, um, summer vacation, and it just seemed like it took forever. I mean, it's like the days didn't move when you're a little kid, and now, man, time just goes by so fast. Um, it's just interesting to me the dynamic of the perception of time as you age. Tilapia aquaponics. I have noticed they kill tilapia there. In Thailand, they are sold live. Oops, scroll down automatically. Sorry about that. In Thailand, they are sold live, sitting stainless steel in trays 2 inch deep of water with aerator. That's very much prefer to buy live fish. Yeah, they just, you know, aerator means electricity, and electricity is not that reliable here. It's just not. I just got to say. Um, Yesterday we had the power go out here. Now it was only out for 5 minutes, but it went out. And the day before, no. The day before that, it was out for about an hour. It's just not reliable. And you have to remember, up until like the late 70s, early 80s, the majority of this country didn't have electricity. Manila did, Cebu did, Davao did. Uh, most of, people wonder why is milk not a big thing here? Why don't they drink milk? Why isn't there a dairy industry? Refrigeration. Uh, you know, even if it's ultra pasteurized, it's not going to last forever. And fresh milk, you only got a couple weeks, and it has to be refrigerated to get that out of it. There's just refrigeration it's not a custom here. They're not accustomed to it. And if you want to preserve something, you dry it. That's why dried fish is so. Uh, I can't stand the smell of the stinky fish they call it. It turns my stomach whenever because it's never just. It seems like I'm sure I'm not the only non-fan of stinky fish because whenever you go to an outdoor market anywhere, even in town or outdoor market, it's like they clump them all together. They make all the stinky fish people stay in one spot because it just smells so bad. But that's like the custom here. You dry it because there was no refrigeration here 40 years ago, and it's taken a long time for the electrical grid to get caught up, and it's still not reliable. The last year I was in California, I think the power went out twice, and those were because of crazy big storms. It's just different here. Tom Harris, before your channel, it was Dan and Terrence, Pastor Timio, and your Sunday church cook-ups. I think you mean cookouts. Yeah. I did. We were doing the chuck wagon even way back when. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Scott, expat in the Philippines. Good night, Brian and Marcel. Big hugs to baby Charlie. Time to hit the hay and go to sleep. 3:15 a.m. here. Wow, that's late. I got to get up early. Have a great day tomorrow. Many blessings, Brian, Marcel, and baby Charlie. Well, thank you, Scott. If you're still here, I don't know how far I'm behind on my comments, but thank you for joining us. It is much, much appreciated. Scott and Dale are saying howdy to each other. Mark Cooper, Mark the Weatherman. Good morning, Brian. Any tilapia harvest video, or did I miss it? You missed it. Posted it a couple, 3 hours ago. Jonathan Stell, good morning from Tacloban Leyte. I have been watching your channel for about 3 years or more. Wow, Jonathan, thank you. I hope you've been entertained. I really hope so. And thank you. Tom Harris, your channel helped keep me learn to love pigs. Yeah, loving pigs. I mean, that's there's a lot of reasons why we didn't do a piggery anymore. But loving the pigs was getting to be a problem for me personally. Everybody's saying goodnight to Tom. And hi to Mark. Stranger in a Strange Land, Dale. Think about when you are 5 one day, as much larger percent of your existence. When you're 50, that same 24-hour period is such a small percentage of your existence. By the time we were 70 or 80, days must seem like hours. Maybe so. Tilapia aquaponics. And when you're 80, you forget it isn't yesterday. Scott Expat in the Philippines, you're welcome, Brian. Anytime, my dear friend. Well, thank you, Scott. Much appreciated. And hey, guys, look, it's 1:30. I've got to get up at 7. I hate having to run out on 90 plus viewers, but this old farmer's got to get some sleep. It's been a long day today. It's going to be a long day tomorrow. It'll probably be a long day after that. And I'm tuckered. So thank you, everyone. Again, 20 million views. Such a blessing. Thank you, guys. We were lucky. I did work at it a bit, and we're just grateful to each and every one of you who are watching now and have ever watched a video. Thank you. They all count. They all add up, and it's appreciated. So wherever you guys are, morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is, stay safe and stay well. And we will catch you again. Good night, everyone.